to live coding with me. I'm Rachel. It's morning for me, so I'm going to say good morning. Hi. Today we are going to be working on a project we started yesterday. Enrique says good morning, afternoon, evening. Thank you. Yesterday. We started last week. A little sip of coffee. So this is a project to eventually I want to have this running on my personal website and have an assistant that's able to answer questions that folks have that I tend to get asked a lot. And I think it would just be faster and easier for folks if they could ask a virtual assistant to answer those questions for me. What we have is a database here. So it's it's a little bit rinky-dink. Yes. Yes, I wrote this notebook. I trust that it will not harm me. So we have a SQLite database here. And inside the SQLite database is not a whole bunch, but it's just some suggestions for resources for learning, machine learning and NLP. So we've got my NLP for Devs videos. We've got the Fast AI course, Text Mining with R by Julia Silge and David Robinson. And then what we are trying to do is have our assistant let people query this database basically using natural language queries. So let's quickly take a little peek at our actions in here and what we've done so far. So we have an action class here. Oh, a little peeky. Hi, Robbie. We have an action class here that will allow Rasa to run this action. And what this action does is it creates a connection using this to the resource database in here in the edu_db file. And actually, I think all of these should probably be in the class, right? Because these are all things I'm doing to run these queries. So I'm going to pop these functions into this class as well. And then it's going to, this particular query will look up the slot type. So we have a field in our database called type, and it's like book, course, videos are the things that are in it. So giving people a chance to look up things from this little mini database based on this one field. I may want to refactor this a bit. I don't know. Hello. Alinikam says, it's my first time. Well, welcome. Gavant, hi Rachel, hi Faiza. Welcome to the stream. So, and this is a function that we've defined down here that takes in a connection, the slot name and the slot value. So for our slot name, so the slot name here is type, the slot value is resource type. So this is the name of the field, and this is what we're going to actually query. So I'm just going through this code because it's been a week since I touched it, and I am trying to remember what's in it. Okay, that all makes sense. And then we run that query and we get the results, and then we just utter the results and change nothing. So this is going to be a, when this is run, we are just going to immediately have the assistant give this output to the users. So I think that makes sense. And as I remember last week when we tried to run it, we got an error. And now looking at this code, I think we probably got an error because these functions were not part of this class, would be my guess. And then to make this a little bit more, flexible in the future, instead of manually setting what the slot value and slot name are, we could go through and, get that information from the user and maybe use buttons and let them do things that way. And I believe we added buttons to the assistant. That sounds right to me. I think we did already add buttons. And the reason you would add buttons for queries is you can look up the values and then you're not going to have mismatches due to typos. So, yeah, let's see if this runs real quick. Okay, and fresh Rasa install has been, is a conda image that I have updated to Rasa 2.0. This assistant is all running in Rasa 2.0. So the first thing we want to do is Rasa run actions? Okay. So what I was trying to do was start the action server that will run, it serves the Python code we have here in our actions.py file, except it failed to register package actions. Am I in? Yeah, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in the wrong, there's actions. Rasa run actions. What did I say last time? I think that that's not the command I used last time. Rasa run action. Oh, I was in the wrong directory. Okay, I see. Yeah, also, I've just been having a little bit of a harder time with typos lately than I usually do. Just, you know, general stress. So now that our action server is running, and that's what's going to run all this code that queries our database, which in our case is, you know, just a little, nope, not in there, just a little SQLite file in our assistant itself, but could be, of course, a connection to a database that you had hosted elsewhere. Let's try Rasa run shell. Yeah, also the command is Rasa shell. Good morning. Also, do have to be in the right directory or it is not gonna work. What we're trying to do today, yeah, we're just trying to get this database querying a little bit more seamless, I guess, and be able to do a couple more things. So as I remember last week, we ended with an error, and I think the error was because of the organization of the functions in my actions.py file. But I guess we'll find out right now when it works or not. Let's see. Conda activated. Yep, Conda should be. I believe whenever I open a fresh terminal by default, because I have this, oh, I'm in front of it. Oh, because I have this fresh Rasa install activated, it will start it by default. All right. I want to learn from a book. I think we had an entity that was okay. So, as I remembered, we had an entity that was asking for so inform and then asking specifically for a specific type of resource. Excuse me. And we got some very interesting errors. Fail to fill utterance template, inform resource type book. Tried to replace resource type book, but could not find a value for it. There's no slot with this name, nor did you pass this value explicitly when calling this template. Return template without filling the template. And interpolate text. Format values, resource interpolator. Interesting. I don't think I've had this particular error before, so I'm going to, oops. So I'm going to fill out these buttons here. So I'm using my errors to select. Failed to execute custom action. Okay, let's check the action server logs. None. Okay, interesting. Okay, so what's happening here? I didn't configure an endpoint to run this action. Please take a look at the docs and set an endpoint configuration. Yeah, let me pop this open in another tab. Okay, so there might be two things going on here. So it seems that there's something about the resource type that's going on that's a little funky. Did I, in fact, let me check my domain. Did I, in fact, create entities resource type? Yes. Slots resource type? Yes. Text. This has been saved? Nah, it ain't been saved. Okay, I think we're gonna need to retrain our model. Okay. So first we're gonna retrain our model, and then we're gonna deal with the action server, because I think I just didn't set an endpoint for it, and then we can set an endpoint and everything will be great. Okay, and then we have an error in line 32 of the domain. So that looks like we have an extra space. So let me try taking that out. And I remember that it's coming back to me now that we talked about the spaces. So the error was right here. The error was the colon and not the space after the colon? Interesting. Interesting. Let's try retraining again and see what happens. Okay, yes, so no space between key and value for the buttons. Gotcha. That makes sense. And then the other thing we need to do is double check our endpoints, because I think I did bad there. Some questions in the chat. Martina says, do we have to create the CSV containing the book name ourselves, or can we import that file from anywhere? The one shown in the part 1 video. It is now... Oh, that's my mic. I was like, what is in frame? It is now on GitHub. I did put it on GitHub. Sorry for the delay. Pull it up. Is it actually public? That's the second question. I think I did make it a public repository. Let me double check. Yeah, so it's personal underscore website underscore bot, and then it has the code up till the start of the programming today. I haven't, you haven't seen me commit and push, so like perhaps obviously if you're watching this live, the changes I've made today have not been applied. All right, let's check our endpoints. Blah blah blah. Custom actions. Any custom action should be in the domain. Server. Not entirely helpful. Let me check my endpoints. Model. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna there we go. I'm just going to uncomment this because I believe our actions are running on localhost 5055 and 5055. Excellent. Okay, so our system was like, I don't know where to look for the action server because we hadn't specified anything, so I've just uncommented this bit of code that points to the default endpoint. So that should work, and I'm going to retrain one more time because I think you need to retrain whenever you change endpoints. I'm not 100% sure, but you know what? Better safe than sorry. and then we'll see if it worked. Something changed. All right. Faiza and Ravi talking about a project that they're working on. Sorry, my dog's very, very activated. All right, now we're gonna try our Rasa run shell. I'm gonna try running our assistant one more time, and this time I think it'll work. Famous last words, we'll find out. So what have we changed so far today? We've changed a syntax error in the buttons. We've changed the functions not actually being in the class they need to be in. We've changed not actually pointing our assistant to an endpoint where our action server is running. Whoops-a-doodle. I think that's it. I think that's all that we've done today, but hopefully those changes are going to be enough to get us running with no errors. I don't know why I want to just like stick the word run in everywhere. That's still not the command. Robbie says Benson is saying something. Yeah. Benson is my dog's name. All right. I'm looking for a book That looks right. For y'all who didn't know, I am dyslexic. Failed to fill utterance type, inform research. Could not find any value for it. There's no slot with this name, nor did you pass the value explicitly when calling the template. Returning template without filling the slot. Interesting. Something is up with my buttons. Okay, so at this point it should be running my custom action, and it did not. All right, 500 internal server error. Internal server error, could not complete your request. Endpoints. Default request timeout. All right, so is this what happened last time? Let's see if we can scroll back up and see. No. So last time there was no endpoint, and now there is an endpoint, but we have a timeout. Did I accidentally close my action server? Is my action server... Okay, we're not doing too bad. So a request was made. All right, yeah, so we got a request. They're waiting for response. The webhook, await results, and there was an error with the create connection function. Okay, yes, something about instantiating. I vaguely remember this coming up previously with me and Python syntax problems. And let me just pop into the... I'm pretty sure in the dialect quiz bot we had something extremely similar, so I'm going to peek in there and see what we did. Okay, yeah, I'm going to so what I looked at here was that there was this classifier pipeline KNN, and when we were using another class, just referred to one of the functions. And then it was self slot key db. Okay. So we're going to need to say, go back to this. So the correct syntax would be rather than. This is the danger of going from a flat IPython file to a more object-oriented thing. Okay, so here. Okay. So these should be fine, but here I need to, this create connection function is in the same class, so I need to say, hey, check in the same class to find it. There we go. And then also it'll be self.select by slot. There we go. Okay, so I think this should work now. So let's save this, and then we're gonna have to restart our action server. But I think, oh no, we don't, because I think we killed it. But I think this should fix our problem. So first be in the right directory, then run the action server. Fingers crossed. All right, so far so good. Create a new terminal, change directory to the right directory, and then we're gonna run our assistant and see if it worked good. Slash it all. Oh, Paul said I absolutely did not spell recommendation right. Well, but as you might have noticed, the intent was still classified correctly. So that's one of the benefits. There's more than one benefits. One of the benefits of using a machine learning sort of transformer-based, more flexible way of guessing intent. So here we're using the diet classifier, which sometimes can handle spelling errors, which is nice. Oh, so like there's a typo in looking as well, but it was still identified as the correct things. So now let's try this. I think there's still a issue with okay, so I think there's still an issue with the button type, right? And we had still an error. Let's go to our action server and see what error it takes. Create connection takes one positional argument, but two were given. Okay, so this was, it all worked. There was just an error in my code. All right, okay, so self.create connection takes one positional argument, but two were given. I also remember something about this. Ibazil says, is Benson a good boy? Mostly. He was upset this morning because he's allowed to be in my lap, invitation only during meetings, and he thought this was a meeting and was upset that he wasn't allowed to be in my lap. But I can't type over him. He's too wiggly. Okay. So I'm gonna look at QuizBot. Again, I remember having a very similar thing last time. It's all referring to a database, which is not exactly the same thing I'm looking for. Okay, and here we have arguments. So I'm just gonna have them be named arguments instead of positional arguments. That might fix it. John says, try to check the function definition. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Robbie says, is there any conversational AI for coding? I mean, that's a thing that's been an active research question for a while. I think mostly folks who are working on it are more in the HCI space. And I don't know that I've seen a lot of compelling evidence that it works particularly well. I think the closest like projects I've seen that work okay are things like this, where you are using natural language queries for SQL. But for something like, I don't know, front-end development. Although I guess Photoshop does have a conversational AI to do Photoshop actions, which is similar. Yeah, it's complex, and I think that the work is promising, but I don't think there's anything like commercially available that I'd say like, yeah, go out and use this right now. Could you make a MySQL database with Rasa tutorial, please? So this SQLite, you would just like change the type of database and then the whatever library you were using to interface with it, and that would be the real only difference. So the reason I'm using SQLite here is it's very small and compact, and I want people to be able to clone this if they want to work with it locally. Yep, so I'm just gonna try I'm just going to try tracker get slot. So I'm going to here provide these names. Slot name, slot value. I think that will actually create an error, maybe. So I'm naming the arguments instead of using positional arguments, and we'll see if that works. Okay, so it didn't have any errors, just like parsing the file, but that don't mean there ain't gonna be no errors. Right in the function arguments self. I'm gonna try this, and then if it doesn't work, I will try that. Yeah. The database files, are they placed within the Roger project? So they are in this edu.db folder, and then the data space here is resources database, and it has one table in it that's called something unpronounceable that I forget what it is. And I think we're gonna get an error here, but we might not. All right, yep. Multiple values for argument database file. Okay, so you need to pass self as an argument as well? All right, I'll give it a shot. So I'm just, I made some changes. I'm saving the file. I'm restarting my action server. I don't actually know that I need to do that, actually, that I need to stop and restart it, but oh well, I've already done it. Python syntax. All right, once more. Oh, assistant, I'm looking for videos. For recommendation. Okay, so we still have this error with the slots that I guess I'm just gonna handle at some point. Say book. All right, and we still have an error. What's our error? Action server, the same error we just got. Don't love that. Okay. Response, webhook, tracker domain, line 28. Reconnection got multiple values for argument DB file. And then we had another one. Oh, okay, this is the same one because we did it twice. Line 28, self-create connection. Referencing functions in the same class, self, Python, multiple values for argument. I'm Googling. Fisa says, what is the use of self inside an argument? I have no idea. Paul, why'd you recommend it? Let's see. Stack Overflow. I created, let's generate pi numbers in Python. Self is used to reference the current instance. Unless you need to keep these values as attributes of your instance, you can just remove them. You can learn more about them here. Self is not a language keyword. What? If you instead name the first parameter of the method me, for example, then that's the variable by which the method would access the instance when it is invoked. Use a function instead. Okay. In your case, you create only self.primenum. This is the only variable used by other function members of the class. Okay, so self is a what is it, something that you do because it's like a habit in a community, but not necessarily because it's like defined that way. It's literally the word was right in here, convention. Okay, so the use of self is a convention, and it's a way to pass variables in between functions in a class. Let's pop open our got multiple values for argument DB file. Type error, multiple values, function, self class, Python. I don't know that that's going to be enough. Yeah. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. Here we go. Type error has got multiple values for an argument. There we go. I read the threads. Built-in system resource. Calling a function, I can't figure out what it could be. This happens when a keyword argument is specified that overwrites a positional argument. For example, let's imagine a function that draws a color box. The function selects the color to be used and delegates the drawing of a box to another function, relaying all extra arguments. Color arguments, keyword arguments. Fail because two values were assigned to color as positional and green as keyword. Okay. So I copied the declaration where I used it and then left the self argument in there, but it took me ages to realize that I had it. So why do you pass self as a function to an argument? Why do you pass self, which is a convention, not a built-in, as an argument to a function in the same class? Paul says, I also check Stack Overflow. Yeah. That's the, that's the thing everybody does. Okay. Or replace the first self with a class name. It also happens if you forget self-declaration inside class methods. Fails, calling it like self is overlapping. Works. Ooh. Wait. Okay. I forgot to add a self argument inside a function declaration. What should be def my function self? Because B takes a list and C takes a scalar. Messed up eventually, yes. Okay, so I think what will fix this is this. Because we've already imported self. That makes sense to me. Let's see if I'm right. Kill my database, kill my server, in theory. Okay. All right, well, that's not working. I've been using Control C. Nope. Yep, there we go. Go to the right directory, Rasa run actions. Okay, now let's give it a shot. I need a book suggestion. Okay, and let's see if we get the same error from the action server, and then we'll handle this this stuff later. Okay, so let's check the action server. We did get, oh, interesting. So we got the name error about the function not being defined. So we do need to say that it's in self, but I assume. Robbie says, do you mean class variable if you want to apply same function to all objects? Don't know. Okay, so let's pop all this into a Jupyter notebook just so it's a little bit easier to mess with the Python. So here we should be able to say all right, so we've read in this class is called query resource action type. we should be able to say query dot create connection and then pass in the database file, which from where we are right now, we're in an IPython notebook file. Okay, so we're in the same directory. So we should be able to just say it's in resources db. Whoops, I created a new Okay, so first of all, you go away. Peace out. Okay, yes, please move. Well, I'll handle that later. So this definitely works. I'm going to put them in a different class. That's what I'm gonna do. And that's gonna be my solution to this. And I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna call this class, I don't know, DB querying methods. And then here, instead of fluffing about with self, we're just gonna do like so. Rid of you. All right, let's try this again. So first of all, kill this. There we go. Yeah, we'll just start fresh. Change. Rasa run. And give it another shot. I think they should fix it. I don't know that this is the most elegant solution, but I'm too tired to want to keep messing with this in depth. Step 1, be in the right directory. Step 2, there's no run before shell. It's just shell. Ed says you need to call a function with self-reference like this, self.create direction parameter 1. So when we did that, we got an error with an extra argument that they said that there were 2 positional arguments required, but 1 defined. And when I added a name to treat it as a named argument, I still got the error. So something about self is adding like a silent positional argument that's giving us syntax errors, and I don't understand enough about the underpinnings to know what that is. Robbie says if you use self in an argument, it will also initiate with self variable name. I'm going to see if my hack worked and then just leave it at that, which I think makes sense because we might want to do something where we have different types of queries that we define with different functions. I want a video suggestion. And then we're going to try and fix these buttons. I was hopeful, y'all. I had genuine hope in my heart. Well, this is a new, you know what? This is a new error message, and I'm just happy to see that right now. So, what happened here? Create connection, error E, name error is not defined. Handle response, await response, webhook, await execute or run actions, dispatcher tracker domain, DB querying methods, create connection, do resources, not DB, not one up. So this is saying go up 2, sorry, go up 1, bloop, and then go into down one into edu db, bloop, and then we're looking for the resources db connection, bloop, and that did not work. So good news, our function's running, delighted to see that. Bad news, we do have an error. Is my slashes backwards? Could you provide a link to the code? Yeah, I'll pop that up right now. It's on my personal GitHub. Because I don't like to publish broken code to the Rasa GitHub. It just seems rude, you know? Pulling that up now. Oh, that's a great question. So, hi Sass. MDCSE says, what are the tracker and dispatcher? Fantastic. So these are from the Rasa SDK, which is a way to interface with our Rasa assistant programmatically. So we have a Python one that we provide. I think that's the only language we cover right now, but I mean, the documentation is public, the endpoints are public, so you could obviously write your own in your language of choice. The tracker stores the history of the conversation. So all of the things that the person said, all of the assistant's guesses about, you know, various things, all of the things the assistant says, all the actions it ran, all the slots, like pieces of information that have been saved out, everything. So this is what we're using to get the slot values here. So the type of resource that the user asked for. And then the dispatcher here is what sends messages to the user from the assistant. So what we're going to say to our users, what's going to happen here is we're going to create a database connection. We're going to get the information that we're looking for using this query results. And then once we have that text, we are going to utter a message. So the dispatcher is going to send some text to the user that has the results of the query in it. So great question that I could answer. Is this not the right file? Maybe my slashes are backwards. Let me try switching my slashes just real quick. Let me see what that do. So it did escape that character, which is not what I'm looking for, but we can give that a shot. Actually, you know what? So it is possible. Let me actually put my slashes back. The reason I was changing my slashes is because I'm on Windows, but I was thinking about it. And I was assuming that Actions was being run from where Actions is running right here, but I think Actions may be being run from the top level directory. So let's see if that fixes it. And all I did was I deleted one period here. 2 periods means go up 1 directory. So if we were here, boop, and then down into here, period means current directory. So assuming that we're here, just go down into here. So that could be the problem. Okay, so when it tried to create a connection, it had an error, which is not defined. So I'm assuming that's an error in the connection, and that error is coming from the SQLite 3 library that we're using to connect to our SQLite database. So let's get rid of you, make sure I save that. Start a new terminal. Rasa run, nope. Step 1, be in the right directory. Rasa run actions, and just give this another shot. So once my action server is up, we'll run some things through our assistant. I'm looking for a book. All right, so let's just say book. Did I not hit enter? New message, delightful. Okay, so, interesting. List has no attribute. Put message string. All right, so let's check our action server log, see what they say. Okay, so we did get the answer out. I think I know what the problem is. Yeah, so I said to print this. And I think, oh, and it's a list. Okay. So what I'm gonna actually do is just try returning a raw F string. See if that works. So it is working, which is great. It is returning the right responses, but the format is weird. So when our dispatcher tries to send this, which is a list, to our assistant, the syntax like, I'm waiting for a string. What's this list? No. So let's one more time restart our action server. And I think this time it'll work, and then we can fix the buttons. And then Feza has mentioned what the tracker is. Thank you. Feza says, I want to know rest 2 that's found in the def run argument. You specify tracker and dispatcher. Please tell what the rest is inside the parameter. Would be because I'm in the wrong thing. Does it have to be an async function? It could probably be not async, but you do have to like wait. But I'm not sure how that would work since you have to wait for the action server to do stuff. I don't know how it would work if it weren't async. So I'm gonna say I don't know, maybe. But if you try it and it's weird, don't blame me. That would also be a good question for next Wednesday for the yeah, let's just, I issue Control C. Let's restart our Rasa server as well. So Rasa shell. Yeah, and the error here wasn't, the problem wasn't that it was async. The problem was that it was the format was mismatched with the expected format. So I will actually, that's a good question. I'm going to go back and talk about all the things that are being passed into the function after we see if this works. I'm looking for videos. Okay. So we still have an issue where something is being passed as a list. So the issue here is we're waiting for the agent to we're waiting for a new message, waiting for the handling the message, executing next action, running the action, execute side effects, send bot messages, send response, send text messages. So the issue here is that we're splitting the message into multiple messages based on new lines, and then getting rid of, leading or trailing white spaces, and we are passing in a list rather than We're passing in a list rather than a string. And I'm wondering if those like square brackets are making something that's not a list. Maybe. But let's quickly take a break and talk about all of these. And then the domain is from our domain file. And here we're looking at, we're converting our dictionary of slots into a list. Is that the issue? No, it wouldn't be, because we're getting the slot successfully, right? The query's being run. Okay, so this didn't do nothing. So one thing that we could also do is we could set we could have a slot that's like query results, and we could just treat that as a template and then tell the user the query results. So at this point, I think our actions are running correctly, and the thing is, the format we're using to send the text back to the user is funky, and I've done something weird. Arshad says, are these errors planned to teach us or natural real time? Oh, these are all natural. These are organic homegrown errors. Make the dispatcher string. Oh, yeah, that could work. So from here where we're saying so converting the text that we're sending back to string. Yeah, let's see if that works. Yep. Rashad says, very courageous to show. Thumbs up. So it's time efficient to not have a bunch of rehearsals before I do live coding. I definitely would be able to do this every week if I had to rehearse things beforehand. So let's give it a shot one more time. So I'm just rerunning my action server. All right, and let's restart this as well, because I think we're in a little bit of a funky state. Control C, there we go. Rasa shell. Anand says, I've got an error about the lexical syntactic featureizer. If you're, I don't think I've run into that error, but just based on what you've said so far, it sounds like it might be a mismatch between your domain file and the requirements of the models you're using, possibly. Ooh, and let me keep an eye on the time, because I do have a meeting right after this. We're good. Okay, so let's say book. All right, so if we do the same thing again, do you have resource recommendations? And I'm gonna add for book again, and it should be randomly selecting between all the books in my database, and I think there's 2. So we should get different answers if we run this a couple times. And now we can fix, hopefully, this button error. Interesting, and we're getting the same result every time. Well, Let me just double check this. Am I not? Yeah, no, it's only a random sample. I guess if we're only sampling from 2, 3 in a row is not a super weird result. So that was obviously that intent was misidentified. As was that one. All right, let's try book one more time, see if we get another result. Yeah, okay, so it is correctly going through, and you can see we have a template here, and the title is taken from the title is taken from the database, the authors are taken from the database, and the URL is all taken from the database. So all of these queries are based on the type of resource that I'm looking for. So database section fixed. And thank you, Rasa. Your suggestion was very helpful. Still not 100% sure about the self thing. I should probably do some more reading about Python class structures. Ooh. Ooh. A lot of my more data science, machine learning-y programming was very functional, so object-oriented stuff is not my bailiwick, but I'm learning, I'm getting better. Alrighty, what's up with this? Failed to fill utterance template, could not find a value. There's no slot with this name, there is, or you did not pass the value explicitly when calling the template. Return template without filling the template. All right, let's see. It fails for most of the component class. I'm not using a domain file. I'm just trying to load the config file. Oh, that's yeah, I post about that on the forums. It sounds in-depth enough that folks would need a code sample to give you more answers. A more exact answer. All right, let's see if we can find out what this is. Fail to fill utterance template is the error that we are getting. Rasa fails to fill utterance template. Okay, so it sounds like someone else is having pretty much the same question I have. So it's from the Rasa forums. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure that's my exact syntax. Let me check. So this will be in the domain. And the reason that I'm doing buttons here, I'm asking for the type of resources that people are looking for is, where's my button? Oh, you don't see it because I have selected something, but is again to let people know sort of like what options there are, and also help avoid typos that would return no results, right? So domain, let's check my buttons. Oh, is my payload and title backwards? All right, I guess we can try flipping those. Yeah, okay, so this is the exact error I'm getting. Here's the example I'm working from. Yep, which is the example that we were working from. And you can see that our syntax is very straightforward. The warning's always there. Need to somehow correct warnings. Okay, so the slot value is being passed. It's just a warning. I'm just gonna look something up real quick. Rasa 2. Interesting. So it looks like I'm not the only person that's run into this. Buttons, send back slot values in Rasa 2. April. bias. Okay, I won't ping to bias about that. Yeah, so not entirely sure what the problem is here. It does look like the slots are being set. We're just getting an error message. So I guess we might just like handle it. Failed to fill utterance template. Are we getting exactly the same error? Let's see. Failed to fill utterance template, tried to replace but could not find a value for it. Could not find a value for it. No slot with this name. Explicitly returning template without filling template. Okay, and it looks like the payload title is switched in his, and I have them in the opposite order, but they're both being parsed. They're both working. The slots are being extracted. This feels like a bug. Slot, buttons, warning, but set, bug. Yeah, I'm guessing this is throwing an error for some reason when an error isn't actually occurring. Because if my slots weren't being set, right, I wouldn't be able to, if my slot wasn't being set, I wouldn't be able to, actually run my query. So I'm gonna try actually, how do you comment out in YAML? How do you comment out lines in YAML? I just want to comment out these lines with the buttons and do it, does not support multi-line comments. Okay, yeah, it's just a hash. Ooh. Ignore all this. Ignore it. Don't use it. We'll deal with it later. Okay. So let me quickly retrain my assistant because I want it to say something different. And then when we run it, we shouldn't get the errors because those seem to be about slotting. Those seem to be about filling slots with buttons. And instead, what I'm going to try doing is a type of query that we haven't run before. So I'm going to ask for courses instead of a video. And also I'm going to try asking for something that we don't have, like I don't know. What's the way that you learn something that I don't have an example of? Website? I don't think I have any websites. I'll try that. So we have a new model that should be able to handle this new discussion. Just realized I lost all of my chats. Okay. Starting this. Do you have any learning resource recs? Of course. Okay. Do I not have something called courses? Let me check my, see, this is what a button would get us, right? I would be able to, there we go. I would be able to look at, capital C. I'd be able to look at my database without having to, like, there we go. Okay. Correctly guess the exact content of the field I was interested in. Interesting. And what if I just say something like something that's not a slot? Nothing's gonna work if it's not a slot, if that makes sense. Textbook. I don't think this is gonna trigger the action. And now I'm gonna ask for something that I don't think I have, which is a website. So I should get that. There are no resources matching your query. Okay. I think that's an acceptable turn response to that. So yeah. Okay, I'm happy with that. I do want the buttons. I do want the buttons fixed, right? So I think that's the easiest way to do this type of query. So, oh, excuse me. I'll see if there's a bug filed, and handle it then. But I think we have pretty much done what we said we were going to do. So we can make videos. So we can make queries to our database. We can get information back. We can, you know, have that rendered correctly, and then it has, you know, links that we can follow, and it does do what I want it to do. So I think we've finished what we said we would do, and next time we'll do something else. Probably continuing to sort of add more features and do more things with this general assistant, because I think I want to keep adding stuff to it, and eventually I'll put it on my website so people can have their questions answered. So that's going to be it for live coding today. Content next week, there's going to be a NLP for developers coming out on Monday about regular expressions, which I know a lot of folks have questions about. It's not going to be a regex. It's going to be like more high level, like when to use them, and not so much like a complete tutorial on them, because that's, you know, it's basically a language. And then we're going to, on Wednesday, have office hours with Ty, maybe. Don't quote me on that. With somebody else on the Rasa team to answer your questions. So that's going to be the best time to do that. Thursday, Friday, no paper reading, no live coding. I'm out. It's a holiday in the US. And then next week we'll be back on Wednesday again, week after next. So stay safe, stay healthy, you know, wear a mask, stay inside if you can, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a great weekend.